right, all right. What's going on? Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's everybody doing? Welcome to Sunday School. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to wait around just for a little bit and make sure that, there's some people that are trying to get in. I'm getting a couple of asks right now. Let me see. I should comment. Okay. All right. Miss Johnson, I'll get you in here right now. Boom. All right, Miss Johnson. I know you can't hear, but now you've been added. So uh, come on in. Come on in, Miss Johnson. Let's work it out. All right. What's going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Welcome to Sunday School. This is your man, Miles. I appreciate you guys taking the time to come and learn a little bit. Now, I was going to do this whole three-part thing. Last week was the first. Today would have been the second. And next week would have been the third. So I obviously didn't know what next week was, right? So the date eluded me. So we won't be having Sunday school next week because that is actually Christmas. People are going to be gone and doing the things that they want to do with their families and so on and so forth. All that great stuff. So I'm going to try to pack it into this one here. So we're going to talk about how to make offers and explain creative financing to your potential seller. But I'm also going to pack in some objections and kind of how you close these things out. That's going to be good. Let me just let him know. All right, boom. Get him situated. Everybody good. Everybody good. What's up, Tony West? I see you looking on, man. I see you seeing. I see you seeing, Tony. Look, everybody. We're gonna do this. We're going to obviously have it here. I'm gonna promote it and market it here on this class, in the Facebook group. But I'm going to also move this over into YouTube. So if you're having difficulties in Facebook, I would prefer that you go on over to the YouTube stuff. So we're going to keep our group. I'm still going to run this in the group until we get a lot of people running over there to to YouTube. But we're going to utilize our group more for trainings and things like that. Things that we don't necessarily put on YouTube. Things that are only going to be for our group members. Whatever you want to call it, exclusive content, right? But we're going to kind of focus on that. And as always, I want you to ask your questions. Let me know what you want to know. If there's something pressing that's on your mind, maybe there's a deal that you're doing and you can't quite figure it out, or, maybe you're making offers and they're not getting accepted, whatever the case, or you're just getting started. I don't know. Whatever it is, let's have the conversation and get you going. You're going to have to excuse me. I'm looking real crazy today. We've been cooking over here all day. So we've got family in town and doing a big old Sunday meal. So I know I look crazy today. I don't even know if I'm lined up well. But we're doing our thing. That's what we're doing. We're doing our thing. So if you have questions at any time through this, make sure you ask your questions. Make sure you let me know what you need to know, because I don't know unless you let me know, right? And I'm looking so I can get your questions answered as we move all the way through this, okay? So let's get to it. Now, we talk right now, or I should say I am talking a lot right now about creative financing. Is it the only thing we do? No. Right now, on our, I don't know, I hesitate to even call it the wholesale business, but in our wholesale business, we have switched over from doing probably 80% cash deals to right now probably 70% and growing in the creative finance space. And I have this conversation with you, and I'm giving this training and education from my experience to you, because there are a lot of people out there that are wholesaling or attempting to wholesale in a changing market, and they're just not getting the deals, or they're signing bad deals, which only leaves us to come in and try to clean those things up for people. Hey, Paul, what's up, man? Welcome, my man. Welcome. And we come in and we have to clean those things up, which we don't mind doing, but it often will, depending on how it comes to us, it often will leave that wholesaler just out of an opportunity, completely out of an opportunity. And that's solely because they didn't know how to market it. They didn't know how to go back and redo things. I'm sending offers and getting the conversation going, but I'm having a hard time closing the deals. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. Well, really we'd have to look at what it is you're saying. We'd have to look at what it is you're saying. And from there, we can clean it up. So hopefully what I'm going to give you today is going to help you do that a little better. So let me know, again, if I'm answering your question as we get into this. So let's get right into it. The first part is explaining the offers. Liv Johnson is trying to get into the group. Can you accept her? I just did accept her. I accepted her into the group maybe 2 minutes ago. I made sure that she could get in. Let me just check just to make sure. Yeah. Yep, I accepted her in the group already. So she should be good. And now, just in case she's having a problem, let me give you here. Let me. Where are these? All right, let me get back out here real quick. Let's see. I can barely hear you. How is that? Can you hear me good? I'm kind of mumbling a little bit. I'm trying to find I'm trying to find where to send you this. You can go to the YouTube channel, right? The YouTube channel is the Jason O. Miles Real Estate Network. So if you know someone that's having a hard time getting into the Facebook group or getting online, we have that sometimes. You can barely hear me. Is anyone else having that issue with the audio? But if you're having a hard time seeing it or hearing it, go to YouTube. Check it out on YouTube, because YouTube just has a better streaming platform. And again, that's the Jason O. Miles Real Estate Network. That is the YouTube channel, and it's live there as well, so you'll be able to see it there. Okay. I don't know how to fix that audio. It should be coming in fine. Everything here tells me that it's good. My levels here are good, so I don't know. I apologize for that. I do indeed. All right. So the Jason O. Miles Real Estate Network is the YouTube channel. So let's kind of dig in here for a second. We're going to kind of focus in today on explaining the options and making offers, right? So what does that mean? All right. That means when we're having a conversation with people, let's say we're having our typical wholesale conversation with someone, right? Or acquisitions conversation. We're talking to them about the property. They're conversing with us. And we start to get into it. We talk about, what they owe on the property, how long they've had the property. We start to get the details on the property, and we start to get into the numbers. Once we get into numbers, generally when you're calling them, when you're in a conversation, you already, unless they're calling you from some kind of marketing you put out there, and then they're calling in. Generally, if you're calling them, that they're at 1527 Johnson Avenue. You already know that they're there, so you will have looked at the comparables. You would have gone online, whatever service or software you might be, maybe you're on Zillow, whatever, and you would have gone there and said, okay, this is 1,600 square feet. You know, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. Whatever tax information you could have pulled up, whatever MLS information you could have pulled up, you would have done at that point. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Paul. So you'd have done that. You'd have gotten that information, and now when they're talking to you, you're just looking for inconsistencies, because that happens sometimes. You know, it's often. I mean, we had one the other day that we were looking last week, I think it was. It said it was a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, but in talking to the owner, it was really just a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom. Why? Because they had a basement, and in that basement, they had this makeshift bathroom put in there at some time. They didn't really even count it because there were no walls. I mean, it wasn't really a comfortable place that for you to go and relieve yourself. I mean, you're in the basement and there's just a toilet and a sink in the corner. I mean, it was not a bathroom, right? It wasn't. No one would count that as a bathroom. So they didn't use it, of course, so they didn't count it as a bathroom. So when I was speaking with them, I was able to get to the bottom of that. Now, could we have made it a bathroom? Possibly, but was it worth doing all that extra work to the basement? In that case, no. So we had to value this property as a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, not a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and then make the numbers work from there. So once you're having this conversation, you're in it now, you're in the thick of it. Okay, what do I need to say? How do I get to it? Right? How do I present my offer? Well, you're going to give them your cash offer. And very often I'll do something like this. When I'm having a conversation with someone and I can see, maybe they don't have much equity at all. Maybe they've had it and they refinance. I mean, there could be all kind of stuff, but I can see that they don't have a lot of equity based on the software that I use. And so I let them know, hey, I've got your house valued at about this, in the best conditions in the market that we're in all honesty, everything is different. Everything is different today. As I told you last week, this is a side note, guys. I told you they were going to raise the rates, didn't I? I said it's going to be between a quarter point, 25 basis points and 50 basis points, between a quarter and a half a point. And they went up a half a point, and they are assuming they're going to have to raise it again throughout 24. But what they said for sure is that rates will not go down, 23. Rates will not go down in 2023. So what does that mean for you as the investor? You have to adjust your offers. You have to adjust your offers. If you were remember what we talked about last week with your equation, your wholesale equation, the ARV times 70% minus renovation minus your potential profit equals your maximum allowable offer. All right. The one variable that's going to change in there is the ARV. You can't go and look back a year anymore, right? Because even if your appraiser came out and said, hey, a year ago, because they'll say you can go back, go up to a year ago, things were selling at $350,000. That was a year ago. Right now, depending on where you are in the market or in the country, that 350 is maybe 280, maybe 300, maybe 320. But one thing's for sure, it's less. It's less. The value is less. And every lender, regardless of the appraisal that comes in, they're going to look at it and they're going to say in underwriting, these comps were done 12 months ago, 10 months ago. The market is drastically different today than it was then. And they are going to make you, the buyer, the investor, understand that by cutting the value on that appraisal. It happens all the time. Expect to see that. So you have to adjust your numbers when you're making your cash offers. It's going to be tough, but it's real. So here we go again. I'm sitting there, I'm having a conversation with a seller, and I know what they want. I know that there's not much equity. I know that I have to reduce the value of this house. And every person is different. Every situation is different, right? Let's just say this is a house that someone's had for a while. They do want to get out of it, but it needs a lot of work. It's not something that you can just throw, $7,000, $10,000 into, changing out the flooring. Um, the internet connection was low. Painting it, things like that. So you need to be aware that you have to make a cash offer based on this price today. And let's say that the after repair value when this thing is all said and done, we're going to keep the numbers simple. Let's just say it was $300,000 in today's market. Okay, this person could say, look, these people over here sold the house 6 months ago for $330. Yeah, they did 6 months ago, but the interest rate has gone up in 6 months 1.25% on the Fed side. That means interest rates went from about 4%, maybe 5% to you and me, now to over 7, sometimes 8. So I can't pay you that. I'm just not. And there's more houses on the market today. It's going to sit there, blah, blah, blah. These are real things. These are real concerns that people have. And you got to know that that's what's going on. So you have to adjust your after repair values when you're making your cash offers, period. Now, when you're going into that situation, like we said, it's worth $300. It needs work. They've had it for a long time. So now we're back into, what is that? It's $210,000. Let's say you've estimated that this property needs about $50,000 in renovation. Okay, so that's $160,000 is what you can offer, but you still got to make some money. Maybe you want to make 10, so now it's 150 is your maximum offer. But that they bought the property for, I don't know, let's say they bought the property for $100,000 however long ago. I'm just throwing numbers out there. So they're going to make some money either way it goes, but maybe they just need to get out of it, right? Or maybe they don't need to get out of it and they don't really have the pain. There's not enough pain for them to have to get out of this deal, meaning they're not hurting for money. They can hold on to it. Maybe the property's rented and it's bringing them in some kind of income, something they're used to. Maybe you could fix it up and get those rents up a bit. Maybe you have a different exit strategy altogether, but they are perfectly content. They'd like to sell it, but they want to get their number. So now we have to figure out what that number is. So the one question that I always go back to when I'm into that situation, I say, okay, listen, I can't offer you, if I'm being honest, I can't offer you a cash price today. I can't offer you any more than $150,000. That's like maximum. I wouldn't even start there. Probably start at about 135, 140. But I can't give you any more than 150,000. Now, and this is a conversation that I have with them if I know they're not going to take this 150 because of the conversation we have. Like saying, look, I'm not just going to give it away. I got to get at least, a couple 100,000 for it. If they're in the ballpark of where I might want to be, but not as a cash buyer. I'm not a cash buyer at $200,000. I'm a cash buyer at 150. I might, depending on what my exit strategy is, I may be a cash buyer at 160. Why? Because maybe I want to keep this and add it to my own portfolio. Maybe I have no intention on wholesaling it. Maybe I want to turn it into an Airbnb, or maybe I want to do lease options or wraparound mortgages, whatever, right? Maybe that's my exit strategy. Maybe I want to hold it because when the market does turn around in a couple, 2 or 3 years, now I will be able to, I'll have it, get it renovated. I'll have it, clean it up when it's time, and I could put it on the market for full or very close to full retail value, right? That just depends on what your exit strategy is. But if your exit strategy is to purely wholesale this, you're going to let them know, hey, 150 is the most I can offer. It's the absolute most I can offer. I can't offer you any more. Okay, 6 months ago and today don't match. They sure don't. There's no pain, no issues to make a deal. If they don't have, that's exactly right. So the first question that I ask them, really it's the only question I ask them, but it can come out in a couple different ways. I ask them right here. Let me get that. Mr. or Mrs. Johnson, I can get this deal done for you, but are you open to a creative financing solution? Are you open to having a conversation about what that may look like? And then we go from there. Now, depending on, who you're calling, they may not know anything about creative financing at all, like nothing at all, right? So they're going to ask you, well, what does that mean? What do you mean? Am I open to a creative finance solution? You're going to run into people that don't want to do that at all. They're like, absolutely not. I'm not interested in it at all. I've heard about it. It's a scam. Isn't that where they're going to take my house? I just sign it up. No, it's not a scam. And you don't want to get into a situation where you're explaining your position. You just say, listen, no, it's not a scam. These are real deals. Okay, it's a real process. It's a real solution. We close with attorneys in every case, and depending on the situation, if you own it outright, you're going to have a mortgage. You're going to have a deed of trust. If we're splitting it up a little bit, you're going to have a lien on the property. We're not trying to leave you holding the bag here. We're a real company with references. We do this. This is what we do, right? And you keep it simple like that. We'll get into objections in a little while, but the main question you're going to ask them is, are you open to a creative financing solution to your problem? I have a series of solutions that I can present to you depending on, the kinds of terms that we come up with, right? So let me play you a little bit of a clip of something that I did. It's the same call we were listening to last week, but I want to get into it. So we're about 8 minutes in on this one. You just want to get 25. Can you hear me there, Art?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thanks for that. All right, so yeah, you said you're in it over 20. You just over 20, so you just want to get 25.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that you can get 25. I'm sure you're getting, 17s, 15s. I'm sure you're getting those offers.
Yeah, 13s and all kind of stuff. Like, yeah.
I'm looking at them. I'm absolutely looking at them. So let me ask you something, man. On a relatively short-term basis, if we could come up to some significant terms, short-term, that didn't allow you to have to, or require you to do any repairs, any of that stuff at all, put a couple dollars in your pocket, and I can give you your price. Give you your price. And we can come up to some really minor terms. Can we make something happen?
Yeah, it depends on what you're talking about.
Okay.
Because what you're talking about. Because that was my second home I bought. But this is the first home I bought out here in Fayetteville.
Right.
And I bought at the same time.
Got you.
It's a dream of mine to be in real estate, but I also know to be in real estate you need money.
For sure. So the thing that I'm proposing to you is, do you have a loan on it? Because I don't see that you have any loans.
No, there's no loan on this. Very good.
Yeah. So the way I'm looking at it here is we can do a couple different things for you. One is I can give you the price in which you're requesting. I can give you that. No negotiations on that at all. I'm with you 1,000% because that's what you need. And instead of sitting around and waiting 3 years before the market gets better to get it, best we can lock it in right now. And second, even locking in that price, I can also, over a relatively short term, make sure that you're getting, consistent monthly payments. We put a terms deal together. It's called a seller financing option, and we close it with an attorney. We pay for mortgage insurance for you. We put property insurance. We make sure that you are the loss payee in the event that, God forbid, the house burned down. The insurance company would pay you directly. So it would be a net gain for you, not a loss, an absolute gain. And I pay for those things. They do not come out of your pocket at all. Does that sound of interest to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's what I'd like to do. You're here in Fayetteville. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to call my partner. You'll get an opportunity to meet. Okay. So you see that's how those kind of deals play out, right? I go right into, are you open to a creative finance solution? And his only comeback to me was, Depends on what you're talking about, you know. And I gotta say this real quick. Let me run this down. He said, look, it's been his dream to get involved in real estate, and um, he he knows that it takes money to be in real estate. I couldn't go right in and say, nah, man, no, it don't. You don't need no money. We ain't using our money to do this deal. This is I couldn't go into that right away, right? So here's what, in fact, so this is a deal that I helped one of the members in our group, one of our coaching members, negotiate. Okay, so he's actually closing that deal. We raised the money to close that deal. He's closing that deal on the 21st. I think it's Wednesday. I think that's a Wednesday. He's closing that deal this week. Now, my conversation going right back to the seller is which you're not going to get a chance to hear that this was in a subsequent conversation, was, hey, what do you plan on doing with that money? What is your goal? I mean, what are you going to go? I mean, you already have another house. What are you going to do? I knew that he was in the trucking business, so I was like, are you going to buy another truck? Are you reinvesting in your business? What is that? What do you plan on doing? And he said, you know what, man, probably going to pay some bills and, kind of catch some things up. And I said, okay, I understand that. But let me ask you, once you've spent that money, how are you going to then invest in real estate? Now, if you pay some of your bills off, and let's have a conversation, and maybe we can find a way for you to start investing in real estate the way you envision it. I can help you do that. And he was like, all right, man, let's have a conversation after the closing. So, and I do that with all the sellers. I ask them all the time, what are you going to do with all this money? What is your plan? Are you moving? Are you buying another house? Are you going to take a vacation? Are you investing in a business? What is your plan? The reason I do that is for a couple different things. If they say, look, I got to have the cash, I got to have all this cash, and they don't have any plan, then I start to have a conversation with them about tax liabilities. If they're older people, we have conversations with older people all the time. That's like, look, I don't want to, I can see what are you saying here, Paul? I can see myself saying those things. I just know I will be doing back and forth and coming off scammy. So I want to make some dials with you, because this is where I am fed. Absolutely, Paul. Like I said, anytime we can just get on the line. And in fact, let me tell you this. Let me give you, for all of you out there that are cold calling right now, let me tell you what I train my VAs to do, right? I have VAs on different levels. But it's going to help you, because it's going to get you into the conversation. So I have my VAs get on the phone. They're cold calling, the same thing some of you are doing. Okay? It doesn't matter who you're cold calling. It doesn't matter what list you're cold calling. It doesn't matter what state you're cold calling. It could be pre-foreclosures. It could be tired landlords. It could be high equity. It could be no equity. It could be expired listings. It could be extended listings. Whatever your list is, you're calling these people and you're saying, I'm going to tell you just what I do. Ring, ring. They answer the phone. Hey, Linda. Hey, Linda, this is Jason Miles with Bold Real Estate. How are you today? Good, good. Well, I'm calling about your property at 123 Main Street. I see that it was for sale, but the listing expired. Or I see that you've had it for 12 years. Is that property still rented? Whatever. You just go at what you know, right? And if they're interested in the conversation, don't be too pushy. Okay, great. Listen, we're buying real estate in that area, or in your area, or in that zip code, whatever it is you say. And I'd really be interested to have a conversation with you about buying this property. Do you have a moment now to talk about it? If they say no, okay, great. What time will work best? I'll give you a call back then. I only need about 15, maybe 20 minutes. And you really want that, because if you're cold calling, depending on the service that you're using, you don't know how to make an offer on someone who is commercial. Well, I'll talk about that. So when you're cold calling, you don't necessarily know all the vitals depending on how you're cold calling. Now, the service I use batch leads and batch dialer. So when we're calling people, I can see all the particulars. I see the address. I see the comps. I see the owner's name, the owner's email address, all the telephone numbers. I see when they bought it, if they have a loan, how much their interest rate is, what their payment looks like. I see all of that. Okay. So when I'm calling, I can have the conversation right then and there. Everybody else can't do that. Not everybody has a service. And there's other services as well. That's just the one I use. But some people just have a list that they skip trace. That's it. That's all they have. Some people are just calling on Zillow. That's it. That's all they have. And that's cool. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But if they're not ready to have the conversation, say, yeah, I'm on my lunch break, or I'm in the middle of something right now. Call me back at 6 o'clock tonight. Okay, great. I'll call you back at 6 o'clock tonight. And you jot it down. Maybe you send them a Calendly invite. That's what we do. And make sure that we're in communication with them. I have my VAs calling 30 minutes to an hour before the meeting just to confirm, so that I'm not wasting my time, right? So they're calling just to confirm, and then they'll send me a message. However we communicate via WhatsApp, and we go from there. So we just build it and build it and build it from this. And that's how you get in. That's how you get in. All you want to do is get in. Once you're in, the next conversation, Paul, is really, really easy, because now they're expecting you, okay? And you've got time to do a little bit of research on that property. You know that it's only going to take you 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes to plug it in, look in a couple different places, and check out some values, right? Your only question at that point is, how much work does it need? What is it being used for? Do you live in it? Is it a rental? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So you've gotten through that part, right? You've talked to them about the property. You've asked them now, because you know their cash offer isn't going to work. Going back to our example, the house could be worth $300,000. The person that I'm spoken with saying, hey, listen, I got to get at least $9,000, $200,000. By the way, let me just say this. If it's glitchy or anything like that on Facebook, please take it over to YouTube, the Jason O. Miles Real Estate Network. Just go over there if you're having some issues, because I can see a little bit better, right? So I know Paul, you're on YouTube, because I can see that you're on YouTube. So wherever you're watching, go on over there to YouTube, make it easy, okay? I want this to be a seamless situation for you moving forward. I want you to get everything you can out of this without all of the glitchy stuff like that. Because that happens a lot. So I don't want you to have to get that. All right. So anyway, getting back into this. So the guy said, look, I'm not just going to give it away. I know it needs work. I need $200,000. And whatever the financial situation is, you say, okay, listen, I know that I can't get to that $200,000 as a cash purchase. There's just no way that I can get there, sir. But if you're open to a creative finance solution, I can get there. I can really get there. And we already know, generally speaking, that he or she, the owner of said property, is it's a rental property. They know it needs work. We've already had this conversation with them. They've told us this, right? So they're in this for the money. And so now, once he says, okay, look, let's have a conversation about what that looks like. Perfect. Let me just give you some ideas here. Now, if you sold it to me outright, you're going to have capital gains above what you paid for it, right? You're going to have to deal with that. But if we can put together, I got you, Paul. But if you put together a situation where you're telling them, listen, we can put a down payment, we can get you monthly payments. You don't have to worry about the renovations. You don't have to worry about taxes. You don't have to worry about any of that. You can simply just go do what you want to do and receive your monthly payments without having to worry about those things. And if he says, listen, we're starting to get into objections, but here's a common one that happens when we're dealing with investors. A common one that happens when we're dealing with investors that are understanding of, the tax liabilities that come with selling the property, right? Maybe they don't need the hard lump sum of cash right now, but they're aware of these, these taxable events that are going to occur if they sell it straight away. So we go right back in and we say, okay, we can save you in the taxes by not doing this. You're not going to have those. You're going to get a down payment, and then you're going to be our bank, and you're going to get interest payments, right? Nice and easy, right? We can save you a lot of pain, the tax pain, and we can still give you that monthly income that you've been looking for, right? Now, it may not be, and it won't be, the $900 or $1,500 a month in rent that you've been getting. It won't be that at all. But here's where it gets good for you. We're going to come in with our money, and we're going to renovate this place. We're going to bump the rents up. Okay? We're going to make this property be what it's actually worth when the market turns around. Now, I'm not going to say it exactly that way. I'm just going to say, listen, we know that this thing needs $40,000 or $50,000, but we're going to do that. And if we mess up, we don't have a claim to that. That's yours. All of the improvements that we do to the house, if we fail to pay you, belong to you, along with the down payment that we've given you. It's yours. And by the way, we're closing that with an attorney. So if they owe this thing free and clear, you're going to have a mortgage. You're going to be in first position. It's yours. You're going to be the lost payee on the insurance, as you heard me say on that call. I need people, our sellers, to understand that we're protecting them every step of the way. And I have that conversation with them every step of the way. Okay? That's how you go in and you make your offers. And I hope I was able to answer your question. I can't see who made that comment earlier. I'm sending offers and getting the conversation going, but I'm having a hard time closing the deals. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. I can't see who that is, but all you have to do is message me, and I'll see this when I go back and look at the Facebook messages as well. I just can't see the Facebook messages. I apologize, but I will make sure that we get that answered for you, because the reality of it is that is significant. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you're getting to it, if you're getting to the conversation, you've got to have some conversions that kick in. You have to have some conversions that kick in. It's imperative that you get conversions that kick in. Okay? So let's help you fix that. Let's get that worked out, because you don't want to be in that situation. Okay? All right. So let's kind of move on for a second. How are you going to close this deal, right? You heard, let me go back here. I want to make sure I got through that whole call with you. Hey, Miss Selena Carter, what's going on? Was that you? Was that you? I think that might have been you. All right. So let me get back to this and see. I want to make sure on it, because I don't see you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's what I'd like to do. Okay, if I just give you a call back at any time, or do you need to? So, all right, thank you, man. Expect to get a call back from us and we're going to line up another time. We can just give. Is it okay if I just give you a call back at any time, or do you need to schedule something?
No, pretty much anytime. Pretty much catch me anytime.
Okay, perfect.
I don't go to work during the day. Well, I go to work at 1 p.m. So at 1 a.m. in the morning.
Oh, wow.
I'm up all day. I don't go to sleep until after 5.
Man, you putting it in, aren't you?
I mean, you got to, man.
Hey.
Somebody, these bills keep coming to my house.
Man, and they're gonna keep coming, ain't they? They're gonna keep coming. So, all right, thank you, man. Expect to get a call back from us within the next couple hours, okay?
All right, will do. I'll be waiting on you.
Appreciate you, man. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye. All right, so really that's about the end of that one right there. So here we have a situation where we went in, I made the deal, I had a conversation with him. Mike was on the line, that's his deal. He was muted, listening in so that he could see that flow and be a part of that energy that comes across. Does it always go that smoothly? No. Do we always do deals the first time we talk to people? Absolutely not. I think we covered that before. You know, more often than not, this is constantly following up with people, constantly following up with people. You know, we want to make sure that if they're not ready today for whatever reason, and right now it's because of unrealistic price hikes for most people, or not price hikes, but valuations for most people. All they can see is that someone else a year ago, 6 months ago, 9 months ago sold their house for this much. That most people are completely oblivious to the fact of these rate hikes and how they actually affect us. Okay, you know, I mean, they might know about it and saw it on television, excuse me, but they're not in that business. They're not in this thing all day every day. So they don't really know how it's affecting you unless they are going to try to buy another house, or they are now starting to feel the pain of selling their house. So you really have to get into this role playing with whoever you're working with. And if you want to work with me, best believe, just reach out. We'll put something together and we'll get you there as fast as we can get you there. Where's there? There is success. Okay, there is success. So if that's something that you're interested in, reach out to me. We'll make it happen. But for now, we're not talking about that. So let's stick with where we are. Okay, let's talk about these objections. Let's talk about these objections. Okay. These are the objections that you're generally going to see. These are the ones that I hear all the time. There are a few others that come in, like, you know, we just spoke about not making the payments and things like that. But these are the ones we hear all the time. All the time. The main one that comes out of people, and I won't even say the main one. The main one I would say is the one that I already said. What happens if you don't make the payments? What happens if you run away? You know, things like that. But so these next four that I just showed you, they're not in any specific order, okay? They're just things that come at different times. And that first one is this legal? I mean, is because this doesn't sound right. You know, I've been taught my whole life that I've got to get my credit right. I've got to save my 20% to put it down. I've got to do all these different things. And I've never heard of just signing it over. What do you mean just sign it over? Sign it over? I'm the bank. What? No. And you do a little explaining, but remember, I say this all the time. If you're in any of my, if you're in my training, you hear me say this all the time. Don't be the smartest one in the room. Don't be the smartest one in the room, even though you may be. Okay? You may know, and generally you are going to know more than the person that you're talking to. But you don't want to come off like that. You don't want to come off talking, you know, all using all the big words, and they're going to be lost, and they're going to be intimidated, and because of that, they prefer not to work with you because they don't know what you mean. They have no idea what you mean. So they feel that you could be using words and phrases that are putting them in a bad situation, and they're just signing things they don't know about. So you keep it simple. Yes, this is legal. This is absolutely legal. It's done all the time. In fact, we've done hundreds of them, thousands at this point over the years, right? So we work with people all around the country that do these things. We do them with single family and multifamily. We do it with cars. We do it with commercial real estate. If there's a note that could be a debt that could be associated with it, we do this with it. So you have to let them know that this is absolutely legal. In fact, we'll be closing this with a title company or an attorney, depending on the kind of state you're in. Some states you're going to use attorneys. Some states you're going to use title companies, right? So you got to give them the okay, the knowledge that, hey, he's telling us something real here. It's at least worth looking into, right? And I tell them all the time, if you want, you can hire your own attorney to do this. Depending on the state that you're in, it's going to cost you, you know, anywhere between $600 and $700. But there is an attorney. They do have to follow state rules, regulations, and guidelines for the transference of real estate. They have to do that. And everything is filed with the state, the county, the city, so on and so forth. It's all legal, and the attorney will be able to explain everything to you throughout this entire process. And even though I'm paying them, they don't work necessarily just for me. This has to be good for you. And that's how we get past that objection, because it comes up, okay? And you want people to understand. And I mean, you've heard of the scams. I mean, they happen a lot in Florida, not as much as they used to, but they happen in Texas, where people are using all these ridiculous things to basically squat in people's houses. So it happens all over the place. New York was notorious. New York, New Jersey, was just in Connecticut was notorious for it for a while. They're not the only places, but like I said, it's happened where people learned some paperwork, did some crazy stuff, forged some things 9 times out of 10, and found themselves in these situations. So you want to put people at ease by explaining to them that, yes, this is absolutely illegal. There are thousands of these transactions that happen across the country every single day. In fact, these things that we're doing come from Old English law. That is for real. These things were happening in England hundreds of years ago. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. In fact, our lawyers still have a royal title, Esquire. Nothing has really changed. All right? So they'll be there. There's always going to be an attorney involved. There's always going to be someone that's right there to be able to answer your question. If not me or one of my associates, the attorney or the title company will be right there to answer your calls as well. Period, point blank. Okay? And that's how you overcome that objection. Another objection that you're going to see is, how will this affect my credit? If I sign this over to you, if I do this deal, if we do a subject to deal, and you're going to hear these mostly from people that you're doing subject twos with, right? People that are in pre-foreclosure status, people that don't have any equity in their house, just that don't know about a lot of this stuff, right? So these folks are not going to really know a lot about that. So these are valid questions to them. How does this affect my credit? If I sign this over, well, that's easy, right? Especially if they're in foreclosure. Well, right now, I'm going to stop that foreclosure for you. We're going to reinstate this loan. And by the way, there's a process to doing this when you're dealing with people that are in foreclosure, right? There's a process. And, well, I'm not going to get into that now, but you can't just close it out and file it right away. There's a process that you have to be aware of, because it can trigger the due on sale clause if you do not do it properly. But that's another conversation. So how does this affect your credit? Well, it affects your credit in a positive way. I'm going to make your loan current so it's not behind anymore, and then I'll be making your payment on a monthly basis on time. So it's only going to make your credit get better and better and better over time. Now, what you do with your credit cards and vehicle loans, I don't know. That's up to you, right? Unless you want to sell me your car. Maybe it's one I want to take over. I don't know. But you're going to have that kind of conversation as well. Let them know, hey, this is going to help you out. It's going to fix it. Having an on-time mortgage payment on your credit is going to absolutely help you out, especially over time. It's a real big thing, okay? It's going to help you out. So when they bring this conversation up and they don't know, if it's going to affect them negative or positively, they're going to want to know, if we're going to do this deal, is this house still going to be on my credit? Yes, it will still be on your credit. It will still be reporting. This is to save your credit. It's one of the reasons that we're doing it. It's to save your credit. It's to help you be able to reestablish yourself in another year or 2 or 3, whatever the situation is for you, so that you can get back into home ownership. Absolutely, 100% of the time. And by the way, let me say this. When you're doing a deal like this, especially with people that are in pre-foreclosure, and they want to stay, they're like, look, can we just rent this place out for, the next 6 months, 12 months, something like that? Don't do it. Do not do it. Because whatever got them in the problem may not be fixed, okay? Whatever got that far into the hole, it may not be fixed, right? You don't know. So even though you're going to gather a bunch of information, maybe the situation is fixed. I mean, you could take it on a case-by-case basis if you'd like, but and I would understand that. But the vast majority of people that I see in those situations, they didn't fix the problem. So they're behind, and they they don't have any means, right? There's nothing they're doing that's going to help them stay current moving forward. Maybe they don't have a job. They're not doing anything to make any money. They're just sitting at home. Well, leaving them there and now you got to go and evict them, okay? And they're going to fight you, and they're going to be like, well, I did this deal, and I didn't know what I was doing. They're going to play the ignorant role, even though you closed it with an attorney. That's just the way things go. So don't put yourself in that situation. When they're done, you tell them when we do this deal, you're going to give, if more often than not, you're going to have to give them some money to move. 2,000, 3,000. We've done, depending on the situation, as much as 10. So at some point you're going to have to get them out of there, but you want to do it sooner than later. You want to do it like really, really soon. You might give them, 30 days. You might give them 2 weeks, but you're giving them that money so they can go on to the next chapter of their life, period. So please keep that in mind, because it can come back and bite you in the butt later on, okay? So another very common objection is, what if the bank calls my loan due? That's the due on sale clause, okay? That can happen. Now, I've had it happen to me over my 2 decades plus of investing in real estate. It's happened to me probably, I think 3 or 4 times, not that often. And that's for a couple different reasons. One, I learned how to do this the right way from the very beginning. So when I was doing it, I was never in a situation where I was just throwing it out there, right? Just doing stuff. So there's a way that these things have to be done, especially when you're doing pre-foreclosures. In particular, when they're in a foreclosure situation and the property has to be reinstated, you absolutely have to know what you're doing, 1,000%. But we're not going to get into that. But the bank can call these loans. They can, because why? The deed is in your name, or in your entity's name, or in a trust's name, and the loan is still in that person's name. So at any time the bank felt that they needed to do an audit, which happens, right? An in-depth audit, it sometimes happens. And they see that, they may exercise the due on sale clause. They may do that. Okay? It does happen. But guess what? If you've closed it properly, 1, if you've done the insurance properly, 2, if you've made the payments and you're making the payments on time, 3, you have no problems. The odds of it happening are slim. I'm not going to say slim to none, but they are extremely, extremely slim. I don't even know how many of these deals I've done. And I know people, and I know of people that have done just, I don't know, thousands and thousands and thousands of these deals. Myself, over the years on creative financing, I don't know, probably 1,000, 1,200. I don't know. I because I've been doing this for a long, long time. So, and it's only happened to me like 3 or 4 times. But the bank does reserve the right to exercise their due on sale clause. So you should understand that and know that clearly. That is a real possibility, and there are things that you can do before to prevent that, or to fix that as you get better in this, right? Because if they do it, there's really nothing you can do. I mean, there is something you can do. One of the things that you can do real quick is you can take that property and go back to the attorneys, get the seller, go back to the attorneys and switch it from a subject to, because this is the only time that would happen, to a lease option. And the price on that lease option would be the payoff for that day, okay? The loan payoff for that day. That's how if it comes up, you hurry up and switch it over and you put it back in that person's name and you do a lease option. Is that ideally what you want to do? No. Why? Because now you don't get the tax incentives. Okay? So, but it saves you from having to go scurry about trying to find $200,000 or $300,000, right? It does. It does absolutely help you with that. So the bank can do that. And you tell them very clearly, yes, that is a possibility. But in the event that something like that happens, need a lender or an investor or business partner. Well, we all need those all the time, 100% of the time, right? So, uh, anyway, getting back to what I was saying there, you got to let them know and you got to be honest with them. Yes, this is out here and this can happen. But depending on how much you're taking, like if you've got a no equity deal, you're going to have to go and find a lender, and you're going to probably have to come out of pocket a boatload of cash. So you're not going to necessarily want to do that, and definitely never tell them that's what you're going to do. Don't back yourself into that kind of a corner. So just let them know in the event that something like that happens, we may have to restructure the deal. And that's it. We may have to go from this to this. And people will say, well, why not just do the lease option from the beginning? Well, you don't want to do the lease option from the beginning, again, because you don't get to take advantage of the depreciation. You don't. I mean, you could take advantage of the appreciation, but you don't get the tax advantage from the depreciation over time. So how do you find out if they have money owed or a lien? So we do a title search. That's why we close with attorneys and title companies all the time, because we've seen these situations happen. We've worked with people and we've agreed on a price, and then there would be a lien above that price point. So we need to know that, and we have to know that. When we're dealing with people on subject to in particular, again, we're always doing a title search. We're always closing with an attorney, always, because that title search is going to show all these things. So when we're in a situation like I was discussing, when the number came in above what we offered, we just went back in and negotiated. In this case, we went in and helped this lady negotiate this mechanic's lien. She was going through a divorce. Her husband did something. The lien was on there. She had gone through the divorce. So it wasn't hers, it was his. She got the house in the divorce, but the lien was still on the property. So we negotiated something, had to bring him in so that he could put something on that as well, so we could get that deal done. Anyway, you're only limited to what your imagination can do, right? You have to be in what I like to call these high-level conversations. Can you check beforehand? Yeah, that is the title search. Now, you can run a search. You can go down there to the it's going to cost something to do a title search either way. There are people that do it for $100, okay? You can go online to the county and try to pull all those records together yourself. But if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know. Like, I'm not a title search guy, right? I'm not gonna know everything that goes into exactly what I need to do. I know what I need to look for, but I might not know where I'm going to go looking for it. So I close these with an attorney 100% of the time, because I don't want the surprise. Because inevitably, not 100% of the time, not even 50% of the time, but something's going to pop up, right? And when you're dealing with people that are going into foreclosure, they own a house, you get the title search, you get title coverage, title insurance as well when you take it over. Why would you do that? Why would you pay for that? Because sometimes those credit card companies and auto loan companies will come back and put a lien on the house for the money that they owe. That's why when you fill out those applications, they ask you if you're a homeowner. Okay, they're not doing that just to see what percentage of their card users or borrowers are homeowners. It's because they can attach liens to the house. So you've got to be aware of these things, and you do it by getting a title search done with a title company or an attorney all the time. It's worth the money. You have to do it. You have to do it. You have to do it. It's worth the money. Okay? Period. All right. I hope I answered your question there. So then the last one here is, I need to sell this house before I can buy a new one. So this is a conversation that they'll have with their broker. Their broker would have told them this all the time. Well, once you sell this house, or their agent, so it's going to be their mortgage broker or their agent. Once you sell this house, then you can go buy this house. And so you go put an offer on this house with a contingency that I'm going to buy this house, but the purchase of this house is contingent upon the sale of this house, right? So that's not always the case. And when this comes up and when they tell you, look, I want to do this, but I can't because I have to have this off of my credit. Why? Because they're going to say it's thrown off their DTI or their debt to income ratio, right? So here's how you get past that. Once you have the deal in hand, you've negotiated it, it's there, they want to do it, okay? Maybe you're giving them some money so they can put it down over here. There's a bunch of different situations that come. Maybe they don't need the money at all. But we use servicing companies, okay? So we get a servicing company. A servicing company is $15, $20 a month for each loan. Why do you do that? Why do we go get a licensed servicing company? We go get a licensed servicing company because that licensed servicing company is going to pull the money out of our bank account and pay the mortgage. Okay? People ask us a lot of times, they're not comfortable with us going in, logging in every month to their bank account information. I get it. I 1,000% understand that. So we have a servicing company that does this. The servicing company will pull it out of my account and pay the bank or the other servicing company that's receiving the money for this loan. Now, why is that important? Here's why that's important. It's important because that servicing company has a log of those payments that are being made. You put your representative, this is what we do. We put our representative for the servicing company on the phone, not the broker. Sometimes we will have a conversation with the broker, but more importantly, the underwriter. Because 9 times out of 10, it's the broker, the mortgage broker, that's not communicating the right stuff to the underwriter. Because once the underwriter gets it, they're going to say, oh, all right, we'll just take that off. Or we'll take 75% of it off. That's more common from my experience, okay? Oh, so they've got a servicing company. It's collecting it and making the payments from this person over here. Okay, no problem. Done deal. Excuse me. Done deal. Worst case scenario, they're only going to take 75% of that. Sometimes they're going to take all of it. But it just depends, right? It's going to be dependent on that underwriter or that lender's criteria, their guidelines. It always boils down to those kinds of things. So you want to make sure that you have those servicing companies in place. And listen, I'm giving you some game. I'm giving you the reality of how this thing goes on a regular basis. I went as deep as I could go today, but that's how we close these deals. That's how you overcome these objections. We talked about 5 major objections tonight. These are the things that you're going to hear 100% of the time. And don't try to make people want to do this process with you. That's what your follow-up is about, to find out where their pain points is. Because if they're selling something today and they haven't sold it in 1 or 2 or 3 months, they're starting to feel the pressure, generally speaking. And if you're the one that's following up with them every 3-4 weeks, you're the one they're going to know. Remember what I say all the time. Be known before you're needed, right? Your first conversation with them is you introducing yourself. Maybe they do a deal, maybe they don't the first time. But if they say no, you're going to call back in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. If they say no again, you're going to call back in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And you're going to keep doing that until they say, look, stop calling me. Or, man, I'm so glad you called me, Miles. I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm getting to my wits' end. I have to move, or this event is happening in life, because life happens and you can't plan for it. Things happen. Circumstances change. You might have had an extra $50,000 in your bank account 3 months ago, but something happened. Maybe someone got sick or you had to pay a bill that you weren't expecting. And now that cushion's gone, but you got these 2 mortgages. That's real life. And people will panic. And that panic is real because we need that dollar to rotate. We need it. So these are real things that happen to people. And that's why you follow up. That's why you let them know, I'm only here to help you solve this issue. Well, I don't got no problems. Yes, you do. Most people, it doesn't take them 128 days to sell a house. So that means the price isn't right. But we can have a conversation about that. Okay? That's what that is. I tell people all the time, I'm trying to get my thing situated here, don't live with the results of other people's thinking. Do not live with the results of other people's thinking, because that's the way they think. That's the way they move in life. You're on this right now because you want to get somewhere. You're on this right now, and most of you have stayed. I saw the numbers go up and down, up and down, and up and down. But most of you have stayed throughout this whole hour and change that we've been here together. And thank you for that, because I try to give you what I can give you. And thank you for those that have added to the discussion here today and asked questions. And I hope I was able to answer them. And if I wasn't, just reach out to me. Let me know. Let's have a conversation, okay? But just don't live with the results of other people's thinking. They're there because of the way they think. You're where you are because of the way you think. And if you're having a hard time wholesaling deals right now, here's the solution. This is what we're doing. Crystal Diamond, got you life. Thanks, good info. Thank you so very much. But, you have to make your choices. I said it last week. You have to make the choice to live the life that you want to live for you and your family. You have to, like I said, draw a line in the sand and let that be your stance in this world. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. And this is how I'm going to do it. I took that stance. And for my first 2.5 years, people thought I was absolutely crazy, because people thought you needed to have money to invest in real estate. They thought you had to be, fit some profile, right? Which I obviously didn't. I don't know if you can see me. I've had this hair for a long time. I like to grow the beard in December, though. Don't hold it against me. But this is real. These things are real, and this is your life, and these are your opportunities. But you got to get some help. That's why I'm doing this. I'm doing this to offer help. If any of you want to have a conversation about where this could go, just reach out. I'll talk to you, or you'll have a conversation with one of my team members, and let's see what works best for you to get you there as fast as possible. But in the meantime, we're going to keep doing these events every single Sunday, except for next Sunday. Don't hold me to next Sunday. Everybody's going to be with family. Some people are going to be out of town, and I forgot. I said we are going to do a 3-part, but I tried to pack it all into this one, right? So this is 2 and 3, but we're going to get right back on it. And we're going to do some challenges in the first quarter. We're going to put some people out there. And by the way, if you've got deals, post them in the Facebook group. Let other investors see that. Hey, we just hit a milestone yesterday. We just broke 1,000 in the group. 1,000 people in the group. We have 1,000 people from all over the world in just the Facebook group that are sharing and asking questions and looking for opportunities. Hot photos of my sister. What? I think we got some crazy people in here. But this is real, and I want you guys to take advantage of it. Use the Facebook group for what it's there for. We're going to do special content, special trainings in there that aren't going to be anywhere else. It's just going to be for the group. We're going to continue to do our Sunday school, and we're going to continue to offer you opportunity, and hopefully for you to create opportunities and offer them to other people in the group. Utilize this group. That's what it's there for. I put it together to help you and to help me. So let's take advantage of it. That's why it's here. Live your life to the best. And I really, really, really appreciate y'all. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, Kwanzaa, whatever it is you do it and do it well. Be great. Love your family. If you got questions, I'll be here for you. I'll see y'all later. Here's to your success. Peace.